on. And I just want to say that I'm a very shy person, and for me to do this is really overwhelming. I never had any horror stories during my addiction, but it doesn't take horror stories to make you addicted to substances. And I'll just start. I'm not going way back because everybody's story is the same. I came from a normal family, loving and well-to-do family, and we lived in Newcastle when we moved from England, and we were well known in Newcastle, so it made it easy for my brother and I to sort of settle into school, and everybody knew us. And the problem with me is I got into the popular crowd very early in my high school years. And it was awesome. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed it. But then I never had a problem with alcohol because I don't eat sweets at all. Or most alcohol is sweet, and I just didn't like it. But I gave it a try anyway. I remember the one time, so stupid. So you can see the addiction starting way back. I think I was 15, and we had a 20K or 30K cycle for school to Chelmsford Dam, and we had to ride back again, so it was quite a way. And what did we do? We put whiskey and water in our water bottles, and we went. By the time we got there, I couldn't ride back. The boyfriend at the time had to ride my bike back, and it was just weird how that was my start of everything. I was very rebellious. If I look back now, I think, why did I put my parents through all that? So much so that at the end of Standard 8, I was actually shipped to Epworth in Maritzburg to boarding school. It was awesome the first half of the year, because somehow I was a full boarder, and somehow I got out every weekend to my friends, went partying. And funny enough, I never actually got drunk when I was out, so it was never a problem. Then I started getting quite ill in boarding school, and I got pneumonia while I was there, and then the weekends going out stopped. At the end of that year, I just wanted to get home to my parents, and they said, you can come home as long as you go to the other private school that's there. So I said, I'll do anything. But when I got there, in the December, I had to have my wisdom teeth out, and I'd had this pneumonia and everything, which they had overdosed me on antibiotics. So my immune system was very low, and then they took my wisdom teeth out, and my immune system was so low they pumped me with more antibiotics, which I was actually quite ill in my matric year that I only took 3 subjects. And I met this, I'll call him idiot now, but I met this man, and he seemed very nice. I met him at church of all places, and we hit it off, and I was still in love with my ex-boyfriend, but I thought, well, he's into booze and all this, and I don't want that life, and this man seems to be better. So at the age of 19, thinking that nobody else will have me, I went and married him. The day before I got married, my folks said to me, you can still pull out. But I didn't, because I was dedicated. But at that time, he had pulled me away from my friends, pulled me away from my family a little bit. Now I'm talking about it, it's like actually quite hard. Just pulled me away from everything. My confidence level went down. So I was actually shitting myself to pull out of this marriage. Anyway, 7 months later, I fell pregnant with my eldest daughter, which was such a blessing for me because it gave me something else in this marriage. When she was still little, I started getting migraines, and I think it was the stress of everything, and I found something that worked, but I left it, it worked, and whatever. And further on down the line, I had a son, and he was 4.5 years younger than Ash, and he died of a congenital heart defect. A year later, I had my youngest daughter. but that hole is still there. It's hard, but the two girls have brought me such joy. Then what happened was we were in Newcastle. The ex could not keep a job, always running to my parents. I had to go and ask my parents for money because he was too shit scared to. He couldn't pay the rent, couldn't buy food, couldn't do this, but he kept his jobs for 3 months. And it was just hectic. I don't really know the time frames. According to my mom, I've been addicted for about now. It was 13 years ago. When I went up into the house, she actually told them it was 12 years. I couldn't believe it, that she actually knew. As I see it, what I think started it off was my migraines, and I could never come to the cause of what it was. And this particular drug was highly scheduled, and I seemed to be able to get it because of my migraines. Before I knew it, I was changing scripts, faxing scripts for this, and not proud of it at all. And then I sort of got a handle on it where I could only take like 20 a day. So I was okay. Then my ex decided to move us up to Johannesburg. So we moved up there. Well, he moved first. I stayed in Newcastle for 3 months. So a loyal wife, I moved with him after 3 months. I got there, no lie, we were there 2 months, 2 weeks, maybe even a bit longer, and he lost his job. He was fired. Well, I think I just started cracking then. I had to go out and find work. So I was the breadwinner. And then he would start up a company, and then I would have to leave my job because he needed me there. But in all this, I was verbally and mentally abused by him. I would never say no to him because I was actually, mental and verbal abuse is hard. It's awful because nobody sees it. I'm not saying it's worse than being beaten up because I think they're both together, the same. But for me, I was lucky nobody saw bruises, which I thought, but the family knew. Anyway, I got a good job at a company in Midrand, and I signed my contract, and I've been married for 18 years. Yeah. And I came home the one day, calmly, and I sat down, I said, right, I want you out of here tomorrow. Done. And it was such a relief, but there was still, I don't know, I think it's just your addict mind. Anyway, I battled through being single, and I loved it, you know. But then, as the divorce happened, I was fighting for maintenance and everything, which was awful. Still on whatever I was on, and going to doctor to get these things. Not remembering where I'd been and all that, because your memory just goes. Still today, I battle with my memory, but that's obviously from long-term abuse. Then my kids and I we were good, hey? Well, except for me. And my youngest daughter was out the one night, and my eldest daughter and I were attacked in our home. We were tied up and held at gunpoint, and that cracked me over the edge. Instead of so many a day, I was chucking more down. And we got over that. We never got the counselling that we should have. When somebody comes to you and starts counselling you about their problems, you just don't want to hear it. I think about a month after that, I was in my car. I had a smash and grab. A month after that, we were in a car accident. I said, my eldest daughter said, let's get the hell out of here. She decided to stay with her boyfriend where Kieran and I came down here. And my addiction actually got worse when I came down here. And I found a lovely, lovely doctor who just supplied me with as many as I wanted. And just thinking about that, is I went to Australia about 2 years ago, and I was panicking on how I was going to get this stuff there and how often I could take it, and I had everything worked out. I went over there with 200 of these things in my bag, plus spare that weren't a scheduled drug because they had what I was using inside. I managed, but anyway, that's just, but how stupid. I mean, I see these border securities on TV now, and I think, what if I was caught with that stuff, you know? It's actually frightening. And anyway, we'll get back to here. So I started losing a hell of a lot of weight when I first moved down here, because firstly, I didn't want to eat because of the amount that I was taking. It made me nauseous, so I popped anti-nausea tablets. Then I was complaining I wasn't sleeping, so they gave me a Calm-Ed for evenings. And then I said I was depressed, so then they put me on antidepressants. So I had all this thing, and then I started getting scared. And I thought, well, let me get rid of all this, and I'll stay on this because I don't want to die in my sleep, you know. I mean, stupid, you're taking 30 to 40 tablets a day, and you don't want to die in your sleep, you know. Eventually, what really, two things that got me thinking was, just before I went to Australia, I had a swim with my youngest daughter in my mom's place. And when I took my clothes off with my bikini on, I saw the shock in her face because I was skin and bone. So much so that I actually covered myself up again, and I said, no, it's fine, I'll go in like that. So now I always wear shorts. It's weird when I swim, but anyway. Then I took a picture when a friend of mine came to visit not so long ago, well, about a year and a half now, and I sent it to my eldest daughter because she had moved to Scotland by then, and she said, Mom, you look anorexic. And I said, what? No. I said, I'm looking good. She says, look at the picture. And when I looked at it, I actually couldn't believe it. But I didn't know how to get out of what I was in, you know. Eventually, I think it got so bad because I was spending all my money that I was working freaking hard for on this. And then I'd still have to go and eat and everything at my mom's place because Kieran and I didn't have anything. And all the time, this little girl was supporting me all the way by just loving me, and not supporting me drug-wise, but I mean, just loving me. But then also, I would push her away because I'd sleep a lot. And then she would go off to her friends, and, you know, and eventually, I think I just got to the stage where I just went on a Sunday. I told Kieran about it the day before. I went to my mom's on the Sunday, and I just burst in her arms, and I said, I can't do this. The next day, we went to my doctor. He weighed me, and I weighed 45 kgs. And he says, can you not do this on your own, Colleen? I said, no. I said, are you freaking mad? I said, there's no ways I can do this on my own. And he says, well, I know this place up on the hill, go. So I went, and my mom took me, and my daughter was devastated. I was actually in a state because I thought, a woman of my age going into rehab, I mean, it's normally for your youngsters, you know, and, you know, not me. But then there's a lot of us sitting here that, you know, now I know that. I went in, and we had to come back down to get my stuff, and I had to meet Mary at the doctor's. And I said to Keith, I said, what do I do with all the stuff that I have at home? He says, bring it with. So I said, okay. So I went back and I saw Natalie, and it was a friendly face because my mom and I both knew her from before. And they sent me out to wait while obviously they talk to your parents or whatever, you know. But I signed myself in. I could only stay there for as long as the medical aid allowed me. But I added on an extra 4 days. So I stayed in the house for 28 days. And I know they say 3 months, but those 28 days gave me a stepping stone for where I am now. I could not stay in the house. I know everybody says you have to go to whatever it takes. But if I had, my daughter might have committed suicide. So I had a lot to play up, you know. Anyway, so I was sitting there and my mom came out in tears. The fact is that she didn't realize that my bag had this medication in. And she knew I had a problem, but she didn't know it was so severe. Anyway, the first week of being in the house was absolute hell. The withdrawals, which I will never go through again, I do not want to go through again, because those withdrawals are the same as when you withdraw from heroin. For me, I didn't get the stomach cramps, which I was thankful for, but I had vomiting for, I think, about 3 days, if I remember. It was horrible. I had to be moved from upstairs downstairs because I couldn't even make it up the stairs. I couldn't do anything in the house. Eventually, on the 25th was the last day I took what's that stuff they help you with? So on the 26th of May a year ago was my first day clean. And I stayed in the house. I did my 28 days. And I came out and they were talking about, you know, your pink cloud. Well, only now going into my second year is there a slight pink cloud. Because when I came out, life is life. And everybody they're moving on, but I don't even know how to explain it. You've got to come back into the same as what you left, go back to the same job, and just go. And it's hard, hey, because I don't even know how to explain it. You are different, but everybody else isn't. Anyway, I went back to work, which I hated my job, hated it with a passion, tried for a long time. My sponsor even said, Colleen, if you're not happy, resign. And I don't know why I didn't, because I knew I needed the money. But anyway, so I was out of the house for about 3 weeks. I had bronchitis again, and the rains came. And you say you've been tried while you're in your first year. I tell you, I have. In these rains, my beautiful car got washed nearly off the river, the bridge, with me in it, in the estate I was living. So for that, I just thought, okay, well, I've lost my car. So anyway, thank goodness for insurance. You see, I was responsible in some things. And I got my new car. Then I actually waited too long because of all the mistakes I did when I was active at my job. They eventually got rid of me, which was absolutely such a relief, you know. So I left. But in that case, I had to leave where I was staying because it was in the same estate. So I got another place in another a secure place, because that's always been my thing, is being very, very safe. To that, we started moving, and there was no water. And I know I'm telling you these little things because, I mean, some things are like really big and some are stupid. And there was no water when we left. And the Monday I got back to work, and they said, Colleen, you flooded your house. I said, what? They said, you left all your taps running. And I thought, oh my word. You know when the washing machine and dishwasher come out? The maid forgot, or I didn't go and check. So anyway, so that was another hurdle I got up. But you know what? In all those times, I never picked up. Whereas before, I would have ran straight to my dodgy doctor and got whatever. In the first 6 months of my clean time, I had a lot of issues with my youngest daughter. It was hard, and she was bullied at school, and eventually in February, I moved her out of the school. But everything is timing. And if I had moved her when I was still active, it would never have been the same. Because she's a different child today because I changed. I started being there for her. I moved her out of a school at the right time. She's flourishing. She's doing a matric now. She is just doing fabulously. And then my eldest daughter came about 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago. She landed for 2 weeks, and her boyfriend came to stay. Now, two years ago, I hadn't seen her for 2 years. 2 years ago, she came on her own, and it was I was actually shared the other night. It was awful because I was still on the substances, and we didn't get along. It was lovely to see her, but I just wasn't there. And this time round, she sees a difference in me, which makes it so much easier. And I'm more aware of everything now. So this first year of my clean time has been very hard. The ex has given me a lot of hell. So much so that eventually I just thought I'm going to arrest him, and I just thought, you know what, it's not good for my youngest daughter at this time. But eventually your kids actually get to know. My eldest daughter hasn't spoken to him since our divorce, which is 6 years ago. She's totally written him off, and now sadly Karen is going the same way, but she still has a lot of attachment to him. For some reason, she just can't let him go. I've dealt with that. Means nothing to me anymore. I know it's hard to say, but sometimes you do have to cut people off. I am totally amazed at this last year. You think you have friends, you don't. Before, you don't. You do have ones from school which are there for you, but true, genuine friends, you don't. They just want to know where the next party is and, all this. But just going back to that, I also isolated myself from friends because when you're in that state, you don't want to go out. You just want to be at home. You lying in your bed and you don't want to see anybody. Your health goes, you don't want to bath, you don't want to, I'm sure all of you have been there, you just don't want to do anything. Even going out for supper with my folks was an absolute mission. So this year I have really, really come a long way because to go out with my folks, and I say this because I spend a lot of time with my parents because they have done so much for me in my years, I'm not going to say my age, my years, that I owe it to them, and my indirect amends to them is to be there for them when they need me. And that's what I do. I remember just joking around with Wendy and saying, they want me to, I had to go and drop Karen off up in Newcastle, and they said, check in on your Facebook wherever you are. So they knew that I was actually going there. It's got better now. They don't ask me to do that anymore, but when I get there, I have to phone and say I'm there, even at my age, because they are so worried that I go back to the old way. And that is when you know you have changed, is when your parents and your daughters see this change in you. So all I can say is that this year has been a huge eye-opener. It's been a fabulous year, especially with friends. I have made not a lot of friends, but because I'm not that type of person to make a lot of friends. Normally I just step back, which I do have to change, that I do know. I'm not a snob, I'm just a shy person. So when I get to know you, then I start opening up. And the close friends that I've made in these rooms is absolutely amazing. You'll go anywhere, and what is so funny is that even though you've got your few close friends, you do know everybody. And when I first came out the house, my folks took me to Galleria, and I bumped into a couple of people, and they go, well, where do you know her from and her from? And I go, NA, and then they start laughing. And then we go somewhere else, and I see somebody, and then we went to, I only speak to my family about it, who I know from where. And every time I see someone, my mom will go, where do you know them from? And I go, NA. So it's actually awesome that you can go somewhere at any given time, normally, and you'll bump into somebody that you know. And they always we always are like that, like, how are you? And it's not just, oh, okay, fine, thanks. You actually want to know how that person is. And so that's how I've seen my year grow, especially with friends and a fabulous sponsor. I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better one. Not that none of you are, but for me, my sponsor has been there for me. And her one rule was, you phone me every single night. And I think the only time that I haven't phoned is when I've lost my voice, hey, from being sick, or I don't have airtime, or I just message her just to say I'm okay, you know. But knowing that you can phone somebody every single night is amazing, because even if it's just, how was your day? It was fun. I'm grateful for today. It's been good. Or really get your shit out. And I always say to Wendy, I say, yes, you must be fed up with the amount of stuff, especially in the first 6 months. I think that was when I really had a hard time, and she stuck with me. And all I can say is that it's been an awesome ride. And I don't wish, and I know they say you don't forget your past, or you mustn't regret your past. There's some things that you do because you are human. You do regret it, but it doesn't make you, if I hadn't gone through that, it wouldn't make me the person I am today. And it's a pity it took me so long, but that's life, you know, and you've got to just take life as it is, like that. So yeah, I'm just grateful to be here, and I know it's short, but that's all I have to say. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks,